today I was able to end the day $313 in profit. I honestly think I should have made a lot more, and we're going to get into why I believe that. But there's one problem that's really holding me back. And if I don't cut it out and if I don't fix it, well, then it's going to be a tough time trying to get my first payout. So let's just go over on how I saw the day today. So obviously we see on the daily chart that we found support down here and buyer stepped in, holding the level, the anchored VWAP here, the start of year VWAP of 2024. So just off this, we understand that we're rallying higher, and it's been really good for the longs recently. And then looking at the 15-minute chart for both ES and NQ, we can see that overnight we're not really trending. We've just kind of been ranging. But if we're looking at like the big picture, right, what the 15-minute has been doing for the past couple days, we're going to see that we're continuing this push higher, making higher highs, higher lows, and that this choppiness overnight could have just been a resting period. And then if we look, the first trade that I took going into the open, basically what I'm taking is a breakout and then a retest off the daily VWAP. And I didn't get on the breakout. I got in off of the retest. If we look at the 15-minute on the ES, we see that we broke out above the previous day's New York and also the daily VWAP, came back down at the open to retest this level. So as soon as I saw us retesting the level and then a couple of green candles print, I got in long. But here's the thing that I was talking about earlier, to where I have a problem. And my problem that I honestly feel that has lost me both of my funded accounts, and that's really holding me back as a trader, is that I have a tendency to overmanage trades like a lot. I'll either look for ways to cut my losses early or to maximize on my winners. And I do this too often. I try to do it with every single trade I take. And the truth is it's not a good idea to do that. I don't have enough experience, one. I don't have enough data. And I shouldn't be doing that if I don't have either of those things. If I'm comparing myself and my system, my process to someone who's been trading for 5 years, 4 years, even like 8 years, they obviously have a lot more experience, a lot more data, way deeper understanding as to when it's actually good to cut your trades early or when it's actually good to kind of like add into your positions to maximize your profits. For me, I'm just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. But rather than doing that, I definitely think it'd be a way smarter approach if I collect the data, gain my experience, and just keep things simple for now. Full in, full out, nothing in between, right? And then after I have some years of experience, that's when I can start implementing and advancing my process and my system a bit more. Right now, while I'm still within like my first year and a half, I've only been trading VWAP for a year now. I shouldn't be trying to overcomplicate things. Just be full in, full out. Stick to the trade, see your bias, see your thesis through. Take profits where it's smart and have stop losses in great locations to allow your trade to have some good breathing room. That's simple. That's something I can do consistently. But just throwing things at the wall and doing what I did in this trade, it's tough to make that consistent, right? And if I'm looking at this trade in hindsight, like, dude, I was straight trading my P&L and I was just honestly genuinely afraid of taking a full loss. Nowhere here am I getting information that I should cut my trade early, unless if I'm just straight tunnel visioning on the lower time frame, which I honestly think I was at the time. Then you'd be like, okay, on the lower time frame, yeah, it makes sense. We cut the trade early. We're not able to hold the daily, but dude, this is just a couple minutes of price action. If we look at the 15-minute, we don't have a single candle closure below the daily VWAP. That's really good. And that tells me that buyers are defending this key level. And if I'm going long, I want to see that. I want to see buyers step in. Just because it doesn't look pretty and perfect because it didn't take off and immediately go into profit right away, doesn't mean the trade's bad or doesn't mean it's going to be a losing trade. So I need to separate that from my trading. I need to separate the fear of taking a full loss. I need to separate this tendency of always trying to just change something in my system. Just try to change. Like, dude, it takes time to be able to develop a system and a process like that of being able to know when to cut trades, when to add in, when to double down, all this other stuff, right? All I can do right now is put a trade on, get data, gain experience, gain screen time, and then keep it simple. If I come up with any ideas, I can always mark it up. I can label things. I can write things down. But actually just doing stuff live in the market, I mean, I'm trying to get my first payout, bro. Like, so like, is that going to help me get my first payout? No, it's honestly going to hold me back a little bit because I'm not making decisions off of data. I'm just making decisions just like, I wonder this, and then I do it. It's like, I don't want to do that. I want to keep things simple. So the reason why I cut half my position here was, because I was in drawdown. And I thought, wow, this isn't a winning trade. Dang, we're going to take these levels and we're going to go down. I'm not reacting to what price is doing. I'm predicting. I'm predicting that this trade is going to be a loss. But there's no information that's telling me that. If I'm actually reacting to the price action properly, there's nothing telling me that we're going to move lower. In fact, it's telling me that it's going to move higher because look how well we're respecting the daily VWAP. On the 15-minute, we're closing above the daily VWAP. Until we get a bearish candle that closes below the daily VWAP, and it's a big body candle, I shouldn't be fearful of this trade being a loss just because we're in drawdown. Makes no sense, but I did it. So if we look at the second trade that I took, it was a way better trade. And I was able to identify that NQ, I said NQ, what the hell? NQ was a stronger asset today because we can see on ES that we had like two 15-minute red candles in the open, and you can just sense a little bit more selling pressure in the open on ES compared to NQ. On NQ, I mean, look at the open, and dude, we only have like one doji red candle right here, and then from there, it's like 4 consecutive green bullish bars, and you can just see that, buyers have just a bit more strength in NQ. We're holding the daily a little bit better than we did on ES. So NQ just looks like the stronger asset for longs. And then so after this pump higher, we started to retrace, and then once we kind of got down to the New York VWAP, I started seeing sellers really slow down. They're not really able to kind of take this price level, and then we get a nice candle closure on the 15-minute, signifying that, okay, here we can see that sellers tried taking the New York VWAP, but then buyers quickly just retraced that move, and we had a nice 15-minute bullish candle closure. And then from there, I was like, all right, bet, let me take the bounce play off the New York, and then I took my profits as soon as price started to slow down. We started printing some big random closures, and I was like, okay, you know what? We may be making a new, smaller uptrend. So rather than just letting price come back down, how about I just take profit and then I can always just like get back in or get into another trade if it comes down, decides to make a higher low anywhere around the New York, and then kind of make a second like higher to make a new high of day. So that was my thinking. I do wish I would have kind of taken profits a bit earlier because I took profits like on this candle right here when I really should have just took it off the close of this candle. But either way, that's something I can consistently do. Okay. It's clear criteria. It's not me just being, oh, I guess this, guess that. I'm reacting. Okay. What am I reacting to? Well, price, we have strength, and then boom, we start to lose strength. We're not able to fill these orders up here at the 480s. We start to retrace. Okay, let me lock in my profits in case it wants to come back down. I don't want to get back my gains, right? And so that's basically my trading day. And this is how the market is kind of going now, to where after all of that, we're kind of seeing some like sideways action. If we just look at both assets and a split screen, we can just see we're having a lot of sideways action. We're not really to make a new high of day. We had the fuel of like 5 a.m. like overnight and then going into the open. But since then, we just kind of we've been doing a whole lot of nothing. So I decided to cut the day because of how much longs were kind of struggling. We weren't able to make a higher day, and I don't want to try for another attempt to try to make a high of day. I just wanted to call it because there's more days to where the longs are a lot easier than they are today. You can just sense that, yeah, even though we did have a long bias, the longs weren't like super in control like we've seen in previous days. Price action is a little bit tricky. So rather than continuously throwing on risk, I'm just going to sit out and wait for an easier day to come. Let's talk about what I was talking about in the beginning as to what's really holding me back from being able to become a successful trader and getting my first payout. And right now, I feel like it's the need to try to know everything immediately. It's the need to try to have my system already in place. It's the need to try to understand and be the best trader I can be. Like, okay, I know when to cut trades. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm just quite literally throwing stuff at the wall. And if my goal is to get my first payout so that way I can start getting paid from this, then like I should just keep my system simple and then build it slowly over time rather than trying to figure it out within a couple of weeks or a couple of days or, even that. So I definitely have to shift my thinking and my mentality around this. And I need to just keep my system simple. Get in, get out. That's fine. My stops are great. Normally, if I let the trade and I leave it alone, I typically will win more than I lose. But a lot of times, dude, I'm sabotaging myself. That's something I just have to stop doing. If I want my first payout, if I want to consistently get payouts, I just need to have a simple system and build it up over time. And I have to understand that, dude, it's going to take time, okay? I understand that there's a bunch of life pressures, people want to make money, this, that, and the third. and I want to make money, which is why I feel kind of like pressured sometimes, but I just have to like ground myself a lot of times and just relax. Take a chill pill. You've only been trading for a year and a half. You've only been trading with VWAP for the last year. Like, homie, it's all good, bro. It's all good. But that's basically what I learned today. And honestly, going in, I really want you guys to keep me accountable on YouTube. Please, and on Twitter, just keep me accountable. Make sure that I'm not adding in or cutting trades early unless it really, really, really makes sense. Like, for example, the example I gave to where on the ES, if we actually do have like a 15-minute bearish candle closure below the daily, then clearly it's like, okay, yeah, you could cut that trade because, but if anything, if I'm trading P&L, bro, call me out. Please call me out because I need to cut this out. I just need to keep my system simple. But if you guys like this content, you guys want to see more of me because I know I'm very entertaining, thank you. Please feel free to check out my X page, but also my YouTube to where I have tons of free content and I'm just basically documenting my journey of getting my first payout and then making consistent money and being a trader.